It's really hard to believe that Amphoreus' story is finally coming to a close. In 3.7, we're gonna reach the ultimate battle and climax with Irontomb. And we already know that Cyrene is going to be a playable character next patch. We have her drip marketing, some little bits of information about her. Not to mention, we can't deny the fact that leaks are just something that exists in this game and Genshin Impact as well. We usually get new characters, their gameplay and kit shown before they're released. I'm not going to spoil anything or show anything, but if you've seen Cyrene's gameplay, I feel it backs up what I'm claiming in this video and going to talk about, because her gameplay looks absolutely insane in the best way. But it really got me thinking about when we first entered Amphorues, and even before that with all the teasers, it really does feel like we came full circle. And then it also got me thinking, how does this story and epic saga that we've played through for almost a year now, how does it end? And that's what I want to talk about in this video, because it does seem like Irontomb will be defeated. I would be pretty surprised if they decided to go with Irontomb's victorious and we lose for a change. But if we prevent Irontomb from being completed and destroy this computer meant to kill news of Erudition and stop Xandar's plan, that should theoretically mean that Amphorues will cease to exist, along with these epic characters and the 12 Chrysos heirs. But that's exactly the point. It was never just about 12 Chrysos heirs, but 13 flame chasers. And it all comes back to Cyrene, the first ever true Emanator of the Remembrance. This isn't going to be a super long video, but I wanted to talk about this because this is the last chance to talk about the potential ending of Amphorues, when the Astral Express moves on to the next place. How is Amphorues going to look, or more accurately be remembered? What we learned in our main story in the current patch, through Evernight, is the Garden of Recollection and the Memo Keepers are somewhat compromised. They've sort of been facilitating and helping Nanook in the destruction of Erudition, so they can record the memory of a dying Eon. Back in 3.4, Phynon and Cyrene were able to hijack the loop from Lygus, stalling in endless cycles, preventing Irontomb's completion until an outside variable could intervene, which is us. And the Memo Keepers were waiting for us as well to breach Amphoreus' firewall. This entire place has been a giant stalemate between 3 eons and 3 paths until we show up. And even though Evernight painted Fully and Nanook somewhat teaming up against Erudition, Fully even having Cyrene record all these memories, just like Phynon suffering cycle after cycle, which is kinda cruel, the irony is I think it has to be Destruction and Remembrance defeating the Erudition to ultimately save Amphorues. And let's look at Cyrene and all the proof we have she's an actual Emanator of the Remembrance. For starters, there's been constant references to 3 Emanators in Amphorues, and we always assumed it would be one of each path. We have Xandar 1 Kuwabara for Erudition, Irontomb for the Destruction, and now Cyrene for the Remembrance. There could be a very strong argument for March 7th being that Emanator of Remembrance, and to be honest, I can't fully debunk that, but it kinda doesn't make any sense because Evernight is connected to the Enigmata, and it kinda doesn't make sense for the Enigmata to even announce of one of their Emanators' whereabouts. So that kinda doesn't make any sense, even if the Enigmata is born from the Remembrance. We also learned in a trailer recently that Fully's body is shattered and there was certain shards that gave birth to certain individuals. And even before this quest, I stated, yeah, March 7th it makes sense to be one of them, but it also makes sense for Cyrene to be born directly from the Remembrance's physical body, since like March 7th, Cyrene has been referred to as a child of Remembrance. And then sure enough, we see at the end of the quest 2 celestial shards, one of them which is clearly Cyrene. Plus in her drip marketing promotion they actually refer to her as a meteor that streaks across the sky, sending ripples through the river of life, gleaming in 13 hues. 13. Cyrene is the 13th flame chaser, and the main one. She always has been. It really does feel like we came full circle. I remember the first Amphoreus teaser we ever got, and I made this whole big video in tangent talking about the Elysian realm and Elysia. And the parallels between Elysia and Cyrene are so uncanny, and it paints a perfect picture for the ending of Amphorues. To keep it very brief and simple, the Elysian Realm is a simulated universe in the Honkai Impact game where 13 heroes from a previous era have simulated versions of themselves recreated, and you can experience and meet them through this simulation, their memories. It's literally no different than Amphoreus being a simulation through the scepter. But then the Elysian Realm gets compromised by the Herrscher of Corruption, which also sounds exactly like Irontomb, a destruction computer, with its own version of a virus called the Black Tide. Elysia was the 13th Flame Chaser, and was the Herrscher of Origin and Human. But she wasn't just the leader of the 13, she was a co-leader with Kevin Kazlana, just like Cyrene and Finon worked together. And another pretty small but important detail is that Elysia was actually born a Herrscher, which is kind of like an Emanator in Honkai Impact 3rd. Most people inherit that title, but she was born this way. Kinda sounds a lot like Cyrene in March 7th, doesn't it? Being born from the physical body of an Eon. Already we can see the parallels, but now looking at Cyrene, it's pretty clear that fully gave up their mortal body, much like the Memo Keepers that follow it. And similar to how Elysia was born a Herrscher, Cyrene was born an Emanator, giving Cyrene the reins to recreate Amphoreus, becoming its own independent full planet, free from the endless loop cycle and extrapolations of Irontomb's calculation and Lygus' influence. And I really believe she does this through the book, As I've Written, because it is the chronicle of Amphoreus. A very big portion of the last quest we played through was memories, Cyrene storing the memories within Amphoreus, but also March 7th being able to remanifest herself to confront her alter ego Evernight, to show her that Amphoreus, this story, its heroes, despite not being real beings, are real enough to be worth saving. This entire saga of Amphoreus really did capture the importance of memory and the remembrance. And March even said herself that Herta could have destroyed Amphoreus at any time to prevent Irontomb's wrath, but did not want to resort to those means. I think Herta knew all along that Cyrene would be the key. Amphoreus might not be a real place, in physical terms, but these characters that we've met through their backstories, their origins, their sheer determination and willpower to defy being a puppet to this world. My theory, and the only true way it makes sense to wrap up this epic story that is Amphoreus, is by Kazlana and Cyrene, the Remembrance and the Destruction, working together, along with us, the Geniuses, Sunday, Black Swan, to stop Irontomb's completion, defeat Lygus, and turn Amphoreus into a real place made of Memoria, kinda like Penacony. And then Cyrene and Kazlana can actually enjoy ushering in the proper new Era Nova in the real Ides Elysia, since Ides Elysia is Latin for Elysium, and Elysium is Greek for paradise. As somebody that plays this game and loves this story, nothing would make me happier than all the Chrysos heirs along with everyone else in Amphoreus being able to actually enter Era Nova finally, after millions and millions of cycles, experiments, and suffering. Mightymost can go be the king of Kremnos as he was always meant to be. Castris can find peace in the Netherrealm, and Exagoras can continue his studies, maybe even study beyond Amphoreus since they know they're not alone anymore. Tribios, the first ever Chrysos heirs, no longer has to be fragmented, but actually gets to stay in her original form, not shouldering this burden her entire life. And the same goes for the rest of the Chrysos heirs. And if Cyrene is able to use her Emanator powers to recreate Amphoreus, a land of Memoria, where everyone within can live peacefully as they do now without the cycle and experimental process, who knows, maybe you can even get other people from outside Amphoreus come and visit. Establish connections. Just because the people of Amphoreus become mimetic entities doesn't mean they can't leave Amphoreus and explore. Look at Black Swan. I think this would be an actually really cool concept. And when it's all said and done, Amphoreus is just like the Elysian realm from Honkai Impact 3rd that it's inspired from. 13 epic heroes that people were not willing to forget. Heroes so great that they created simulated versions of those heroes, and an eternal, simulated paradisal world for them to reside. This entire saga and chapter of Amphoreus paid such nice homage to Honkai Impact 3rd, staying close to its roots, capturing that magic and that feeling of these heroes, while also telling it in a very unique way. This video is bittersweet for me because although I'm excited for what's next, I'm hoping it's the elation or the nihility as the main Aeon for the next place we go. Kafka sorta hints towards this already as nihility being the next path we gotta gaze, so that might be the next place or the one after. But I am also sad that Amphoreus is coming to an end. There's been so many twists and turns. The story kinda started off slow building the world, left us confused with so many theories and questions, and from there on it's been an absolute epic journey. And it's been nothing but a privilege to be able to share that with you guys, talking about it with you guys, making videos, reading your comments. If they do kill Irontomb and Lygus, I'm curious to see what the Lord Ravagers will do to react. They probably won't take that lightly, which leaves the possibility of a Lord Ravager maybe seeking revenge against Amphoreus. The sheer concept of a supercomputer created by an emperor that manifested itself with the first ever Genius Society member to become this super destructive computer meant to kill an Aeon, and yet the byproduct of that created this epic story with these epic heroes that might even outlive their own creator through the sheer power of the remembrance. If the Aeon Fully's entire purpose is to record all the memories of the universe in case its destruction so it can recreate that, and Lygus told us himself that Amphoreus is meant to be a smaller microscopic version of the bigger Honkai Star Rail universe, then maybe Amphoreus being recreated through the remembrance is kind of a nice smaller version of what that will look like for Fully. That's not to say Amphoreus will be safe once Lygus and Irontomb are dealt with. There are still going to be Aeons in the future that try to get their hands on this place. There's already one on its way, the Shanzhou Alliance. Yes, they're coming to our aid to help defeat Irontomb, but Jingliu said herself in the Lord Ravager trailer, as each piece falls to counter the next. Why not take advantage of it for our own goals? We already have the Swarm Author, aka the Propagation's Remain, so Tazeroth, and they're trying to kill their own god in Aeon Yaoshi of Abundance. We just need to temper the Hunt's arrowheads with the ruins of Golden Blood, and in the trailer it shows Amphoreus' logo. And just another visual cue of Amphoreus, look at the centerpiece, that star in the middle of the Infinity logo. Just more physical proof that Cyrene will not only save Amphoreus, but again is in fact an Emanator of the Remembrance. Just because Amphoreus is able to save itself from Irontomb does not mean there won't be threats lurking to take advantage of this coming conflict. And see Amphoreus and its heroes with their golden blood as a potential means to take advantage for their own goals. Something we must always remember as the player base. There are no good and bad Aeons, so even if temporary alliances are formed, in the bigger, broader picture, it really doesn't mean anything. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on how you think Amphoreus will end. If you think Cyrene is going to be an Emanator of Remembrance, since they did talk about 3 Emanators, and they're sorta suggesting she is. Also let me know what you think will happen to Irontomb and Lygus, since we know Xandar 1 Kuwabara has 9 entities of himself remaining. If Lygus is killed, there'll still be 8 left in the universe. I'm very intrigued how the remaining 8 are going to factor into the rest of the story and how they'll influence it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.